Hello, hello. What is up? We are live. We are live. It's Sunday. And today's stream is going to be about creating a HTTP server and REST APIs in Rust. I'm using PostgreSQL as database. I'll be using sqlx to connect to the PostgreSQL. And we are also using JWT authentication, the JWT token authentication. So we'll create some APIs in Rust as well, REST APIs. All right, let's wait for some audience and then we'll start. Let's see who will be joining us today on Sunday. Maybe up till now, when the people are not joining, I can use this much thing. All right. I will reduce the my frame to normal as soon as any audience will join. So if you are joining and if you are new on the channel, you can check out my other videos as well. And let me know in the chat if you want the source code of the project that I'm working on. It's open source, so you guys can do contributions as well. And let me know in the chat if you want me to start. So amazing. Guys, please let me know if you want me to start. I'll quickly start. I'll first give the outline of what we did and what all things we did and what we'll do today. What issues did we faced in our last stream and how we fixed that. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button. So people, should I start? Let me know. Okay, so maybe if I keep it here, it will be good. All right, let's start this thing. And if you have any questions, feel free to come on chat. All right, so what are we building here? We are creating a HTTP server in Rust using Actix-Web framework. The database I'm using here is PostgreSQL. As you can see, I have a pgadmin tool opened here. Is it visible? Yes, it is. Maybe I could just do this thing. Yeah, so as you can see, I have a pgadmin tool opened here, and this I will use to monitor the outputs and all on the database. So few things that I have written over here. Let me just open it. I have created a main file that will be our main entry point of this application. I'm using Actix-Web, so it provides me a HTTP server struct which I can initiate and pass in the app. I use some functions like wrap for adding up the middleware on the server. So I created two middleware. The one is for authenticating the request, that is here for an idea how middleware works. And if you are aware and watched my previous stream, I already told about the onion kind of model which a request follow. So the another thing that I wrote over here, another middleware, is log request middleware. It will log every request in and out, so it becomes very helpful when we have to log each request, so that in future if we have any issues, we'll check those logs before directly jumping on the code. So on the authenticate request, what we will do is we will try to fetch the header, and we'll try to access the JWT token from it. We'll decode it and try to find out if it's a valid token. Then we will try to find out the details about the user and attach that detail onto the request. So this is what we'll do. Here, as you can see, this app data function is used to wrap the database connectivity pool that we initiated at the very start of this program. We attach that thing onto the app data so that we can access it over here by using data from the Actix-Web. So we create a Postgres database pool, and we connect that pool with a connection URL that we formed. Right here, I created a function on the utility file where I will fetch all these files, all these variables from env file, and then format it into a PostgreSQL connection string. Now let me just close it. Let's go on the routes. So how do we like configure routes on the main file? We configure them by using a .configure method, and inside this I will pass the method of the route functions, route module that I created. So I created routes, and inside it I have a init function. If I go inside it, as you can see, this function init will take configuration that is of type that will be a mutable reference to service config provided by Actix-Web. Inside this I have, as you can see, I have few jargons that I wrote over here, that is scope, service, resource, route, and to. Let me just go one by one. Scope is something that have a common prefix. Imagine all the APIs that belong to a certain version will go inside API v1, and let's say we update our API, and now the API versioning, we are moving forward with version 2. So all the API that belongs to version 2 will go inside a version 2. So I need to declare another scope with API v2. I have a service. Inside this I'll pass a resource. This resource will be the endpoint that client will use to connect, and it will redirect it to a route. The route will take a type, whether the request is of get type or post type, and then the dot to will like send it to the appropriate handler. So for now here is check health. So if I check the health of a server, I'll check API slash v1 slash check status. All right. Now here is a here is a very interesting thing going over here is I can create scopes under a scope. So inside API v1, let's say I want to club all the APIs that has the common prefix of users. So the APIs related to the users will go inside the scope users. So that's what I created under the service. I created another scope that has users, and again it will follow the same route, same path, that is a dot service that will take a resource, the endpoint to which the client will connect, a route that will take a request type and send it to the appropriate handler. So it will go something like that. So let me quickly just go on the check user. Let's directly jump into the register user, because if you are familiar with my previous stream, I already told how to attach data to a request and how to access the payload that is in the JSON format on the request payload. So on the register user, what I'm doing, I have created a table called app users. So the error that we were previously facing is something like this. If you can see, let me just do this. So if you can see, yesterday I was getting an error of sorry, it was of user not exist. The error was permission denied. So why I was getting permission denied? Because I created a user in my database, and I created a user, I assigned schema to it, I created a database, I create a table, but I didn't give it a proper permission so that it can create a table on the public schema. So I just grant all the permission by using 2-3 queries that permission that grant all the permissions. Not all the permission, it's not a super user, but we have provided the permission of creating tables and sequence to that user within that I created for all the schema and sequence that I'll create from now on. So by doing that, I also replace the table name from users to app users, just in case to avoid the the name the name collision with the on the database. So database could have a table called users, so I just refrained myself by using these type of keywords like users. That could be a very, these are very generic terms, could be used by the system. So I converted it into app users. So now everything is working over here. Now let's come back to this function register user. What it will do, I will fetch the payload, I will create a hash. First of all, let me just show you the payload that I'm passing from the request. As you can see, are able to see that? Yes. Should I zoom in? Yes, this should be fine. Okay, yes. So as you can see, I'm passing this JSON payload on the request that has, it will replicate a register query. So I have a username, I have a secret, I have a user login address. These are, some random things that I just put on to just fill in the query, to look query a very bulky kind of thing. So I have a username Vipin, I have a secret. One thing to note over here is the secret that I'm using over here, I'll not save it in the database as the exact password. I'll save the hash of this password, so that next time when a user will log in, I will just compare the hash, I will not compare the passwords. All right. So if the hashes are different, that means the password is wrong, and every specific password will have a common hash. So two same strings will have a same hash, and if anything between them changes, even a single character, then the hash will differ by a very large range. So you can check out the hashing kind. So I'm using bcrypt for that. If you are aware, on the Node.js there is a package that is called bcrypt. So in Rust that exists as a crate as well. So I use that. It provides two functions. I'll show you on the crates.io. So I have secret, I have user login and the address. All right. Now when I pass it from the request here, what I'll do, I'll fetch it and keep it in a payload. And here I'm fetching the secret out of payload. Why I'm doing that? Because I need to calculate a hash. All right. Now calculate a hash. I created a function called get hash. If I get inside it, I created it under the utility function, where I will, let me just remove this thing. I think this is obsolete. So what I'm doing, I'm using a hash function from the hash crate that I use. Let me just go over here, crates.io. Inside this, if I use search for bcrypt, let me just open it somewhere else, and I'll be using JSON web token as well. So if I click open bcrypt, you can see it provides me two functions, that is hash and verify. All right. So what will hash do? It will create a hash string from the password that I will provide. So I'm using the same thing. And on the authentication, while the login on the login API, what I'll do, I'll use the verify. I'll pass in the password which user inputs, and I will compare it with the hash, whether it's a valid hash or not. So first of all, I will calculate the hash. Then I will fetch the hash from the database based on the user ID that I will access from the JWT token. And then I will just verify that thing, compare the two hashes by using verify function. And if it's a valid thing, then it's it's using a correct password. So now let's go over here. So this is the same thing I'm doing. It will return a result of a string and bcrypt error. So I'm using match statement to gracefully show the errors, right? If it's okay, I'll return hash, and if it's an error, then I will return this bcrypt error. So the same way I'm using a result over here, that is of a string and a bcrypt error. I could have used only hash string, but I want to see the error as well if any error occurs. So I'm just passing out the result. In case of okay, it will return the hash string. I'll unwrap it later, and then if it's an error, it will return an error that is of type bcrypt error. Sounds good. uh, I have like I used an info log over here so that I can see the hash that I created, but it was for testing, so it would be good if I remove this thing. All right. So here the hash is calculated. Now I created a repository folder where I write all the files that will I write all the functions that will query the database. So all my functions that will query the database, I created you know a, a separation where I created a folder in named repository, where I keep all my repository functions. So if you see my tree over here, as you can see under src, let me just hide the files. So under src, you can see I have controllers, I have middlewares, I have repository, routes, utility, something like that. So under controller, I'm passing all my controllers. I created mode.rs. I will just fetch all these things over here. Make sure that you access all those modules in the main file as well, otherwise they won't be accessible. I created middleware where I have written auth, logger, and on this kind of middlewares. I created a repository file where I have all these things. If I go inside user repo, let me just come here, inside controller. All right. So here I can see a user repo, and I created a function called user registration. I'm passing in the payload the pool that I added on the app data from on the main file, and I'm passing in the hash so that I can save it on the user registration table. All right. I will return a result from there, so I'm using a match statement over here, right? It's a async function, so I'm using await. Again, the Actix-Web is wrapped on top of async environment. It must be using Tokyo. So in case of okay, I'll return a user response. In case of error, I'll return a error response. So here error response HTTP response is the struct that is provided by Actix-Web. It has all the status codes, as you can see, if it's an internal server error, whether it's an OK, whether it's an unauthenticated access, and I'm passing it as returning it as a JSON. Here I created an API response struct. Will these be uploaded to your in your channel? Yes, yes, yes. If you want to access this thing, it's already on my repo, up to date. So you can fetch these things, fetch the code and check out what I have done. You can create, also do contributions and all. If you want, I can just post my repo link. If I say get uh, sorry, github.com/. So it's the repo link. The entire code base is there. So yeah, so what I did, I created a API response struct over here, under which I created few fields that I'll return on the that I'll return to the client. I've created a status, a message, and a results. If I need to return some data, I'll pass it in result. It is taking a generic parameter t and an option. Why option? Because there could be a value and sometimes it could be none. Alright, like in this case, I'm passing the result as none because there is no result. We only have an error with the status code of 500 because HTTP response I put it as internal server error. So the status code will be 500. The message will be error occurred. I'm passing in the error this error parameter that I'll return in case of any error. Alright, so this thing is I think this should be good up till here. If I go inside, okay, now let's if I go inside user registration. So as you can see, I created a user registration. Again, the parameter are payload, the pool, and the hash that I passed. I created a query over here using sqlx. Inside this, I have a method called query. I wrote the query, insert into users. Now the users has been changed. So the table name is app users. All right, app users, and I have all these fields and all these value, and you can see all these values are basically a parameterized query. So this will, I think you will not be able to see that. Let me just, maybe I could, if you can see this, please let me know. Are you able to see that? Yes. Okay. So as you can see, this thing, and the values that I'm passing are basically parameters. So on the PostgreSQL, I'll do $1, $2, $3, and $4, and later I will bind it by using .bind method. So this prevents SQL injection attacks and something like that. So instead of on a single line, I'll make it a parameterized query. So I'm using bind, I'm using all these things. Now as you can see on the secret, I'm passing the secret hash that I created and passed it over here. Again, I'm to execute this thing, I'll have to take pool as a reference, and I'll use a dot execute, and it's an async function, so I'll use dot await. And once it's success, what I'll do, I'll pass a result out of it, and I need it's a rows affected. Basically it should be last inserted ID. So maybe I could get some function like last, and now for now let's see this. Let's see, I should be doing here the last inserted record, and I'll tell you why I'm doing so. Okay, now let's me just open it. So I hope this is understandable why I'm doing this. I created a function. Maybe I could do something like this as well. Return ID, maybe something like that. But anyways, I will figure that out. But how will the query looks like if I close this thing now? Now let's assume that the data has been inserted and it returned a result that I saving it as a user response, user res. Now here is the interesting thing. Now the token generation will happen. And now this token is called JWT token. Now let's see what a JWT token is. JWT token. So if I click on this jot.io site, you can see a jot token will look like this. It has three parts basically. If you can see, I have a dot over here, another dot over here, and I have these three parts to it: first, second, and third. So the first part will be header, that has all the information about the algorithms and the type, and the second part is payload. This is our actual payload, that is also called claims, and inside these claims we'll have a data like audience, issuer, issued at, something like that, what is the subject, and the timestamps of all these things. So this is our payload. And the third part over here is called signature. That signature, it is generated by a password that we will fetch it from the env file. Now this password should be very complicated and very long. So as you can see, it says a string at least 256 bits long. So something like this, a very long password, very complicated password, so that the integrity of this payload will become even more complex. So all these three things, that if combined, they create a token that is called JWT token, a JWT token. Now, few things to note over here. When we create a JWT token, we should avoid saving any secure details onto this payload. We should not save any details that could, possibly lead to a leak. So we should avoid that. Why I'm saying this? See, I have a website called jot.io. Here, if my jot token is exposed to you guys, you can simply copy it and paste it over here and see all my details. Like I say, you can see it over here. A subject is there. This subject must be a user ID for some internal use, a name, a role, that is admin, if it's an admin, true, otherwise false, and issued at, this is the I64 timestamp that we will use. All right, so as you can see, it has been issued on January 18, 2018. So if I have some, I have saved some secrets or some secure information over here, I can see it. So that is why you should avoid this thing. Use the minimum information that is required, like the user ID. I mean, if exposed, no one can do anything about it, right? The role, the name, issued details, issued timestamps, and all right, so this is the thing. So, and how do we create in Rust now? So if you want to read more about it, you can just simply search about the auth protocol, OAuth protocol, and auth0 protocol, something like that. You can search it. You will find some good articles about it, and then you can read about it. All right, now let's see what's going on. All right, we have 13 concurrent viewers, guys. You need to, so you know keep, you should like this stream. Amazing, we have 3 likes. That is good. 15 people watching, and we have 5 times of like. So make sure to hit that thumb button, like button. So I mean, if you are related to this field, are you able to understand what I'm saying, or are you aware of these things already? Let me know. Namaste. Yes, Bhargav. Yeah, so now let's check how do we create a token. So that was all about JWT token. Now how do we generate it? We will generate it by using this crate called JSON web token. If I click on this, it provides me some functions. You can see it gives a detail about how to use, like this claim struct. We should create this claim struct. provide all our details like subject, company, expiration time, expiration date, how long should the token live. Once the token expire, we should refresh it. We should either generate new one, or we should refresh the token with the a longer longer token life. So the entire claim, it could look like this. We have audience, expiration time, issued at, issuer, not before, and subject. Now the default algorithm is SH256, which uses a shared secret, as you can see. So it provide two functions basically, encode and decode. Encode, as the name suggests, it will create a JWT token for you. And as I told, JWT token, it has three parts, right? A header, payload, and a signature. So we need to pass these three things on the encode method. Now let's see how we do that. So I created a function called generate JWT token. I'm passing in the user ID that I recently got of the recently inserted record. So if I go inside it, I need to fetch the encoding key that should be long and very complex, and I kept it in my env file. So I fetched it by using from the env file. Here I'm creating an expiration time. So the expiration time, I need timestamps. So timestamp would be the i64 value. It will be long, of course. So, and how I'm calculating this thing, I'm calculating the now, the timestamp for now, plus I'm creating the token life up to 2 days, that it should be valid up to 2 days. Which should not be the case. It should be valid up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, based on your case. So after 5-10 minutes, if the token is created, then it should create a refresh token. All right. Here, so as you can see, I'm creating now, plus I'm adding the duration of 2 days, and then I'm calculating the timestamp of entire this thing altogether. Encoding key, I'm creating the claims struct that I created. If I go inside it, I have a subject. Of course, I'm using a subject as a user ID, so I'm keeping it i32. It should be string if you are using a UUID. I'm creating an i60 expiration time that will be on i64 if I use timestamp. An audience, an issuer, and issued at. It's also a timestamp, so it will also be i64. Alright, now I initiate that struct with some values, the user ID that I received, expiration time that I already created, audience, and issuer is weapon, and the issued at is the current timestamp, that is UTC now. For the managing date times, I'm using chrono crate, just like a moment.js crate on Node.js. So here is a chrono crate that will manage the timestamp. Now how do we create a token? I'll use an encode function, and I'll use a default header that will use the default share password algorithm, that is SH256. And all I need to pass is the reference of all these things. I'm passing in the payload, that is the claims, and the signature that will passed as the encoding key. So encoding key from secret, and this is the encoding key I'm taking as a reference. Here I am passing in the token, so I'm returning a token, so there is no semicolon, as you can see, so it will be considered as a return statement, right? Now let's close this thing. So here I have the token, and I'm passing this token in a HTTP response. After, when everything is okay, I'm using HTTP response okay, status as 200, user registered and token generated, and I'm passing in the token and response. Hello Bon Sanatani, what's up? So till the moment we don't have our front end ready, we will copy this token onto every request manually. But if we have a front end ready in TypeScript that we will create, we will store that JWT token into HTTP only cookies, and then we will pass it on the headers. Okay, how do we pass it on the headers? Let me just show you. If I check for the headers, I will use something like this. I'll create a key value pair called authorization, and I will pass this token. So this token will look like this. This is the token. This is the header. This is the payload, and this is the signature. And I need to add a prefix that is bearer and then a space. So the token will look like bearer, space, and that token. and on the auth middleware that I created, I will fetch that token, I will decode that token. So we will do that as well. Now let's see if everything is working, though I have to change one thing over here. That is, if I go inside user registration, I need to get the latest insert record, right? I need to get the record that is inserted very recently, right? So there are like 2-3 things that we can do. We have a function that method, maybe if it's available, I can fetch something like last inserted. No. If it's an I32, I'll say, let's see if I have any method. So it has rows affected, right? That's what we did. Rows affected. Maybe I could get I'll have to use another, another way uh, to fetch the current users. We can use in the query we can use returning ID as well. So after a successful query, if you want to return the ID, so maybe we can do that as well. So I have a result over here, right? So if I remove this thing, because I don't want any rows affected, I want the result of the recently inserted query, the record, so that I can use that ID and save it and the details on the token. So let's just check first of all what parameter do we have as a thing. So we have an ID over here, right? We have 7 columns. If I refresh this thing, refresh, so now the table is app users. It has 7 columns: username, secret user, login, address. Maybe the ID that is I want it to return, right? So what I will do, I will write something. I will, in after this values, I can write returning ID. So this will return ID. All right. This result will return the ID. So let's see what it will return. Maybe if I could just use, let me just create a to do. I have to remove this. I'll say println. I'll check it in console. What is the result? See result. So the terminal. Are you able to see the terminal? Let me check. I think yes. Guys, if you have any question, make sure to come in chat and say and ask them. We could chat. So if I go, I can see one error: expected I32 and found a PG query result. PG query result. All right. So this is the thing, right? So if I have result, I can say ID dot last. No. You know what? Let's return instead of I32. Let's return what it says. It says a PG query result. So this won't be any issue now. We need to check only results. So now for now, let's not call this function because I need to extract that thing. So we'll do this thing. For now, let's do this, and maybe sparse none. Let's see how it goes. And user res over here, it's a warning, so we don't care about warning, we only worry about errors. So I have put a log over here, right? So everything working. Okay, now let's run this thing. So this is the API endpoint. As you can see, API v1 users register. Now let's see what record, whether the record is inserted or not. Thank you, Bon Sanatani. Thank you very much, guys. If you can like this, we can shoot this stream up to, maybe let's make it even. How many users are watching? Each of you could like this, and we can go crazy about it. So now let's hit send. If I hit send, I'll need to make sure I see the terminal as well. So let's, maybe I should do this thing so you guys can see the logs over here. All right, so make sure you keep your eye on the terminal. I'm hitting the send. All right, so I think we returned 200. Okay, right, it says user registered and token generated. Now let's see this thing. So as you can see, I am getting the logs. I have called this post request, auth is called. Now the result that I'm getting is pg query result rows affected 1. I'm not getting the ID of the inserted record. So it turns out that I cannot get the ID of the inserted record, but I can fetch it now. I don't have any option. Maybe if you guys know any query that will return the inserted records ID, that would be good. Maybe we could search it on Google. So as you can see, I can get a pgquery result, and inside this struct I am getting a rows affected. So the rows affected is 1. Maybe I could use this condition as a boolean to fetch the latest inserted record. Correct. So maybe if I remove this thing, and I can get the result as well. So here, if I could, amazing. Now let's search this thing first. So how to get the inserted records ID from PostgreSQL using sqlx in Rust. Let's see what we get. Postgres getting ID of the inserted row. Amazing, we have a Rust documentation. Does last insert ID of sqlx return the ID? But I'm not getting a last, what it says, last insert ID, but I don't have anything such as last insert ID, right? Last insert ID, I don't have it. I have only one thing that is called rows affected. Maybe I could create a query in after which, but no. Let's see. So insert dogs, delete dogs, update dogs. Insert dogs, rows dot first dot unwrap. No. What is your SQL definition for the table? Please share create table. It seems your ID is not a PostgreSQL begin type that will map to I64. I don't get it. Current value, last value. So I'm using this, I'm binding this the same way I'm doing over here on the match. Execute, await, execute, await. Now it query, what does it return? If I go, I can see it returns a query. query. But is this trustworthy? Is this always the insert ID of the recently executed query? At least for MySQL. Yeah, MySQL has it because I have worked on MySQL using this, Actix-Web and PostgreSQL. Oh, sorry, Actix-Web and sqlx. But I get it by under this field, but I'm not sure if mm, the function da 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 da. And now the only option remaining is once I insert, after a successful insert, I can fetch it again. But should that, it says returning ID. I did that, sir. I did that. I did that. Guys, are you enjoying the stream? Or is it boring as me? Mm-hmm. Postgre getting ID of the inserted row. What is no? Okay, let's come here. Maybe I could see check returning ID not working. I could see that as well. PostgreSQL. Let's see what it says. Uh, Insert and returning clause are not working. Maybe open this PostgreSQL. Let's see. It says I'm inserting into a car and then I'm saying do nothing and returning ID. So, all right. Values on conflict do nothing returning ID. Doing an update every time will cause unnecessary bloat, of course. I don't think there's a you can do nothing and get no values back. You can do update. No. Insert into table name, returning output expression, returning, and the optional returning clause causes insert to compute and return values based on each row actually inserted. If an on conflict ID do update clause use, this is primarily useful for obtaining values that are supplied by default. What do you think, guys? What is the cause? Alright, my system is getting down. I think I have to come with the laptop. Insert into this returning ID. Normally in Postgres, this will return the ID of inserted row. On my tables using P, I didn't get the ID, but I'm using an ORM. The wait triggers. I'm aware of anything inserts. Whenever you insert the table, that triggers redirect. Let's see if the data is inserted. If I run this query, you see what is the issue? The ID over here is null. ID over here is null. Are you able to see that? If I do this, are you able to see that? You see this ID over here? You seeing this integer? It is null. Ideally it should be 1, but it is null. So maybe I have to do something with the table. If I check this app users, if I go to script, and I'll see the create statement. Okay, this is good. I can see it's an integer, but it should be auto increment as well. Auto. There is no such thing called auto increment. Should I have AI? PSQL auto increment. PSQL auto increment. No, that is fine. I need the guys. Do you know a keyword for auto increment? I think it's AI, right? Auto increment, or it's auto underscore increment. You can use serial is an old way to auto generate unique values. Maybe I will get hit here. For example, to get a label with an auto incrementing ID, what should I use? Serial, primary key, ID serial primary key. Maybe I could copy this thing, and I will just I'll cascade. Create table if not exist, so let me just run it. Run it. All right. Let me refresh this thing. App user columns. So I have ID, create a script. All right. Next. Well, ठीक. So that was the issue, right? You guys have seen. Are you a backend developer? Hello, Web. I am not strictly a backend developer. You know, I work in front end too. I work on both basically. So now let's see if I can do a returning ID over here. Now let's see if that works. Returning ID. I will insert the details again. I'll see what I get. Let me save it. Let's see how it goes. All right. Make sure you keep your eye on the terminal. All right. Uh, let's just hit send again. Okay. Again, I'm getting rows affected 1. I'm not getting the last insert ID. And the message is successful though. User registered. Let's see over here if I can select star from app users. If I hit this thing, I can see the integer ID now 1. If you guys are able to see that. Hello Karthik, what's up? I can see this thing 1 now. So earlier it was null. So they didn't make it any primary key nor serial, not auto incremented. It was just a field there, it waiting for it, someone to insert the ID. So as you can see, the password hash is there as well. So you can see it. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see that. Let me just do this. Are you able to see it now? So you can see the password hash, this thing. This is the password hash that we saved. All right, so now this thing is showing the primary key, but the main issue is how do we return the last inserted record. So on the result I can see I will only get the rows affected. So this thing is not working, right? Returning ID is not working. Maybe I should do this. So this thing, returning ID is not working. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see this. Maybe you should be able to see this. Yeah, this returning ID is not working. This should work. Anyways, if it's not working, we are not going to, I'm not sure why it's not working. Maybe should I look for it, or should I just if I have the result over here, maybe I could use I'm getting the PG query result and I'm getting the rows affected, right? So I'm getting the rows affected. Maybe I could have another query over here that will select now the inserted record based on the user login, because that user login will be different. All right, so I can check it. I can say if result dot rows affected is greater than 0, because only only one user will be registered, right? You cannot have two rows affected for a single call. So we can do that over here. Now if it's this, Otherwise I'll have to return an error. I can say error.new just in case. Let's see. If I'm getting if I have a rows affected over here, I'll say let uh, user result equals sqlx dot query. I can contain a single DML statement, right? So I need to create a SQL as well. So I'll say, no, inside I can only create a single statement. I'll say uh, select ID from app users where user login equals to $1. Does that make sense? Here I'll say payload. Oh, okay, no. I'll say dot bind. I'll say payload dot user login, right? Dot execute. I'll say pool dot as ref and dot await. I'll have this thing over here. Okay, this user result is all right. It is out of move now, so I'll simply call it no, it will be used over here as well, right? So maybe I could pass in the references. I mean, I can simply clone it as well, but I won't be using that. I don't know anything about Rust. Only thing I heard is it is memory safe. What does it means memory safe? So like I said, I could use a clone over here, right? Dot clone that will take up an additional memory, but I'm using a reference here, as you can see. So this is what it means if you are wondering what is memory safe. uh, I mean, a developer has a control over it, how to allocate the memory, and the rules called ownership borrowing rules, so all these things, the terms, all the concepts of Rust makes it memory safe. So it forces the developer to make use of, to make efficient use of memory. So that's what it means. Amazing. We have 5 likes and 25 people watching. So guys, you guys can, always hit like and shoot this stream up. So I have select I. Oh, I thought it was a runtime check stuff. Yes, combined. It's more of a compile time check. To make it a runtime check, we use din keyword for that. Let's suppose, let me just show you. The code you can see over here, it's a box, then a din, then an error. So the compiler can detect here that okay, the error could be of any time, the size is not known, it will be known at runtime what it gets. So at compile times, this din keyword will leverage this error, that okay, you don't have to worry about the type, the size, because we are using it, wrapping up it inside a box. So it's more of a compile time stuff. So it restrict you during the compile time only. Though you can write unsafe code as well. So I mean, it gives us the liberty to write unsafe as well. And sometimes you have to write unsafe, when working with embedded and all. So let's see this query. Select ID from app users where user login is this. Now I will have the ID over here. Now we will see, uh, from here I can just uh, return, maybe I'm using a wait. All right, so let's see if I can print what's going on. To do remove this, users result. Let's see what user result has, and for the sake of simplicity we will do this. This thing that I'm using, okay result, is not intended, because we'll have to return separate things from here. So let's see. I should get 1. All right, I should get 1, but let's see if I can get 19. uh, how can we get 19? It is, save data changes, yes. All right, if I search again, I'll get 19. So I have updated the ID to 19. I'll see the 19 now. 1 is very much. All right, so if I hit the enter, make sure you have your eye on the terminal, because that's where we will have our thing. All right, so if I go over here and see send, once I try to compile hello world, and it took 2 seconds. Yes, yes, it does. The compile time are very heavy in this, but you can always, but when you release the build, it usually is very fast. So maybe you can check it with the release flag as well. So if I send, I can see internal server error. What is the error? It says I'm getting an error because I have a syntax error on some this uh, syntax error or near this thing, rows affected one. User result, instead I should see a result. No, oh, I only have this thing over here, right? So I'll just remove this thing. I'll say the result. Yeah, guys, you need to show your power, so hit like on this stream. And also C binding is for Rust is the yes, 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 yes. It is difficult. It is difficult. I agree, sir. Hmm. So where could be the syntax error? Select ID. User login ID from app users where user login is equal to. What's wrong with this thing? I don't find anything wrong. Did you guys find anything wrong over here? This is the syntax error, right? I just use a kind of JavaScripty syntax. I'll have to remove these things. So if I just, terminal getting refreshed. Now let's hit again on the postman. I'll hit send. I am getting a 200 message and I can see rows affected 3. Oh, ooh. It inserted the record actually. Oh, I forgot to do that. Now I get 2, 3. 2, 3. Amazing, amazing. I forget that user result. Dude, this is crazy. I am just fetching the record and I'm getting rows affected. There is something seriously fishy going on here. I forgot to truncate the table. I should do truncate app users. All right. Now if I undo, now let's see what is there. There is nothing. Now I can hit the query again. If I do user results, I'm getting dot id try into. So maybe I should check select statement for PostgreSQL. Select statement for PostgreSQL using sqlx in Rust. Why I'm getting rows affected each time? I just did that. Okay, it's not execute, it's fetch 1. It's fetch 1. I'll say dot fetch 1 and I'll get a pool over here. Is that no pool dot as ref? Okay, I'll get it now. Now let's see. I should get 1. Maybe if I do plus 10, I should get 11. It's not. Why? Anyways, no issues. I should get 1 now. So let's keep an eye on terminal, please. Let me just hit send again. I have got 200 and I have got a PG row now with an ID 4. All right, with an ID 4. Now let's hit select and see what is happening. I can see a record with an ID of 4. That is good. So we have got the ID, right? Now I need to return that ID. So what I'll do, I'll say okay, user result dot ID. How do I get it? It says PG row. I'm getting a PG row. PG row. Maybe I should copy this and extract ID from this in Rust. Okay, I'll get row dot get. So I'll get a row over here. So let me just, instead of result, I'll be using user row, and here I will get it's a complete no-go, so I'll remove this thing. I'll use user row dot get. Any reason why ORM is being avoided? I'll tell you a reason, but I need to first plug in my phone. 20% charging. I'm using phone as a camera. Where is my charger? Bota, I'm a Laravel dev. Hello, hello, Sagar. I'm using nvim, nvim. For SQL, it's easy to use SQL. Yes, Ganesh. ORM only needed for NoSQL. Mm-hmm. Any reason why ORM being avoided? Is Rust good for backend dev? Yes. I'm unfamiliar with Rust, but ORMs usually allow you to turn them into objects that is easy to play with. Yes, 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 yes. That is true. That is true. ORM, you don't have to then deal with everything that you usually write big queries to for, that you can take help of ORM. They are for, easing up your experience. Uh, that's it only. But here you can see I am, always writing query. Even if I have to create a transaction, then sqlx will only give me the functions to start a transaction, to commit the transactions, but I'll have to write the query even if they are like big queries. Laravel has a great ORM for MySQL, but it's hard to define models for each table and relationships. It's good for data security and protect exception cases, but it's a lot of work. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, show your power. Come on, man. Let's take the likes up to 20, maybe, or let's make it even with the current viewers. If each one of you will hit like, it will be good. So it says I'm not getting a get method over here, right? So with this over here, user row, I am selecting this. I'm using fetch for one. So on the user row, what I'll do, I'm checking this thing, right? Dot id, no. Dot get, no. Yeah, 6 like. Why not use ChatGPT for answer? It will be faster. Yes, but if I use ChatGPT, then I would I mean I was unable to know that there is a get method that I can use. If I use ChatGPT, I will never know that I can use different other functions than query. If I use ChatGPT, I would never know that I can map the result to a struct that I need to create. So ChatGPT will be faster, but it will only alter your dopamine. That's it. Uh-huh. So now let's see. We have other things as well. So this query I'm not getting get over here, right? It says if I use get 0, then I'll get ID. But to get row, maybe if I use query scalar, it says I can use select. What is this? Is this what the heck is this? Dot GE? I don't have get. Uh, dot ID. There is no column as ID. Type must be known. Yes, we have 7 likes. That is good. Uh-huh. I have query as with. So if I use query as, map rows using tuples. So let's see what query as does. So I'll say sqlx query as. Query as in sqlx. Out this. Maybe query as. I'll have to pass a count, that is struct. I'll say fetch one, then I'll have this thing. Query as macro. Uh, Query as. I only need query as, not query as macro. Will that be an issue? I'll have to pass a count. I'll have to pass something like this over here. Wait a minute, I need to do something like this. Maybe I could get some syntax. Can be used to fetch rows from users table the vector of instance. That is all right. Maybe if I can create a Let's see this. I'll move it to somewhere else. We'll call it, and ID will be I32. I'll call it pub ID I32. Now here I'll use user. Mismatched type. Maybe, I can just use I32. Then I can say user row dot ID batch. We return 0 from here. Now it says I'll have to, what is the error I'm getting? I need to just go there because the screen size is so small. It says query as, remove the extra argument. If I use this thing over here, I will not have bind, I will not have fetch 1. Amazing, 8 likes. Wow, 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 wow. So if I do I32, then mismatched type, then I'll have to I32 over here and 0 from here. Expected this too. What is this? Okay. Mhm. Let's see, we don't have any error, we only have the error of these. All right, I think we are good here. Let's see. So we just typecasted it because it's returning an I32, so we did an I32 over here because the get method was not available. So let's see how it goes. Then we'll validate the token as well. So it's 4, right? Now let's see if I make another register query, then it should not return me 4. Then we will check it. So let's see, keep an eye on the terminal. I'll hit the send query again. Sent. It's 200. It's okay, everything went well. Let's hit this thing again. I'm getting 5. That is good. So the record is being inserted. Now let's I'm returning this as well. So if it's a 0, it's a result, right? If is this, and if it not, then I should return an error from here. So the error is of type error. So how do we create an error? guys. If I do this, can I do this? What's it says? Three warning. Okay. Consider importing one of these item, not a function, tuple struct. Consider another three. You know, so returning std error. What is up, guys? Let's hit it up to 10 likes at least. We already have 8. How do we return this thing? Okay, that is fine. We already did that, but what if it's not okay? Maybe I should write create a new std error in Rust. How do you create a new? I will call error. Acha, theek. But it says there is no such thing called new. I did that, right? Error new. I did that. Error kind other. I'll say record not inserted. But again, it says there is no such thing as new. Let me remove this thing. Use std. Now let's see what is the error. It says not a trait. What is this? You know what? Let's undo this thing. Um, mm, Instead of this thing, I can say error. And how do we return it? Mismatched type. Let's see. Okay, dot into. Okay, now if the record, I mean, if the rows affected is not greater than 0, I'll have to return an error. All right, now let's close this thing. I'll have to open this thing again now, and I'm good to go. user s, all these method. I didn't update the token, so I'll have to okay, cool. Let's go here. No warning, no errors. Now let's hit again. I should see a token, and then when I will decode it, I'll get the user ID as 6, the subject as 6. So keep an eye on the terminal. If I hit send, I got 200, okay, and here I got the token. So here is my token. As you can see, here is my token. So if I copy this thing, this is my JWT token that I created, and the record has been inserted too. The user has been registered, the token has been generated. So if I click it on here, I can see 6. Right now when I oh sorry, why is that? Now when I decode the token, now when I copy this thing and I'll go on jot.io, when I decode this token, I should see the subject as 6. So you see the signature is not valid because I'm using a different key, but the token is valid. If I go over here, I can see the subject as 4. Wow, I'm getting this thing. I'm getting the first ID. Oh, of course. I should get the first ID because all the user logins are same. So that is perfectly valid. Maybe I should, rename it to 123. I should rename it to 456. I should rename it to 789. Okay, I'll save the changes. Now if I insert the rows again, I will see. If I insert it again, I will get another token, updated token. If I copy this thing and check it on jot.io, I will see the uh, I'll see the subject as 7. I should see the subject as 7. All right, the subject is 7. That means I'm getting the latest record inserted. So yeah, so as you can see, this is how we will implement the token in registration, and we get it back on our client, and then we will use it as a, you know we will use it on the request header to validate that token and to validate that request. So that was it. What else do we have here? Okay, all right, so guys, that is it. Maybe I'll be live again after some time. Uh, then I'll implement login API. I have to go somewhere today, you know so I'll have to go to buy some stuff from market. All right, if you want, I can push this code. So the code is on GitHub, and I have the repository link. Let me just do it. github.com. So you can see my GitHub on the chat, so follow me there as well, and you can get the code from there. This will be the latest code. So I'll have to take leave now. Thank you very much, everyone, whoever joined this stream and truly stayed for watching this. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them on the chat once the live is ended. I'll be happy to answer those. Bye bye.